It can start across the country. It can start with someone else. The freedom that you're seeking begins within yourself. Just think of what it would be like if we could all truly unite and walk hand in hand together instead of letting go to fight. I stand for love, I stand for truth, I stand for hope, I stand for you. I stand for peace I sing in all the world, let freedom ring. In a life where life is separate, in a land that's not our own, we walk around together, destined to be alone. But if we could only realize the truth that's at our core, you'll see it matters not what you're against, but what you're living for. I stand for love, I stand for truth, I stand for hope, I stand for you. I stand for peace I sing in all the world, let freedom ring, let freedom ring, let freedom ring, let freedom ring, let freedom ring. In the heart of every man, he must learn to take a stand, take a stand. I stand for love, I stand for truth, I stand for hope, I stand for you. I stand for peace I sing in all the world, let freedom ring. I stand for love, I stand for truth, I stand for hope, I stand for you. I stand for peace I sing in all the world, let freedom ring. I stand for peace I sing in all the world, let freedom ring, let freedom ring.
It's my favorite day. She's right. Why is it my favorite day? 4th of July. Yes, it's the 4th of July. Am I on? I'm not on yet. Okay, now? Oh, I am on. God is in the house. All right. In Congress, July 4, 1776. The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitled them. A deep respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall deem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience hath shewn that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient suffering of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these United States. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. And then they list all of the grievances that they have against the King of England. And the declaration ends with, "We therefore, the representatives of the United States of America in General Congress, assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states. And they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved. And that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states might of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our futures, and our sacred honor." I've mentioned this before. I was at a bed and breakfast over the holidays, over New Year's, up in Sequoia National Park. And across from me was a gentleman who was around 50 saying, "You know, I'm registering to vote for the first time in my life." And he's registering because he believed that Donald Trump should be the President of the United States. Next to me, there was a woman about 35 who said, "Well, I see no reason to vote. I've never registered." So to the gentleman sitting across the table from me, I said, "Congratulations, because I'm proud of you for registering to vote." The lady next to me I said, it is not only your right, it is your sacred obligation to register and to vote. And I believe this very, very deeply. And what's interesting, right now the country seems to be very divisive. Yes, that's the impression we get. What we forget is a little bit of our history. And I actually posted something on Facebook, and I generally keep my opinions to myself. However, I felt compelled. I know, it's dreadful. So I'm going to go ahead a couple of slides. Come on. I think I am. No, one more. Okay, you know who these gentlemen are? All right, then tell me. No, actually, it is John Adams, the short old guy to the right, and Thomas Jefferson. All right, that's when they're a little older. You know, the tall redhead. What's interesting is on July 4, 50 years after the Declaration of Independence, they died within 5 hours of each other. What's significant is that in their last few years, they made amends and they became friends again. They started out supporting each other for the common vision. But the how to do that split them apart. And if you were to look at the letters and the ads and newspaper articles of the day, you would see that they had a vicious campaign. And they made things up about each other. They lied, even back then. So as we look at today, and there are those who are getting very upset and thinking, oh, it's the end of the country, whoever is voted in as president. Remember that we've been doing this for a long time. And it is the consciousness of this declaration and of our Constitution that was later put together that holds this country together. I had a conversation with a woman last year, and I'll tell you, I didn't know what to say to her after, because she's just starting out on her career. And I was saying, oh, how exciting. You could go anywhere you want in the country. And her comment was, I can't possibly go to red states because I will not associate with those backward redneck people. And I didn't know what to say. I really didn't. Because one of the things that I love about this country, and I have been to every one of the 50 states. I love every one of them. I love the people that I met in every state. They didn't all agree with me politically, spiritually, and I loved each one of them. Because I think when in this country, when we say, I'm an American, we relate to our entire country, no matter what state, no matter what region. It amuses me when someone who's never lived here or lived in different parts of the country will say, well, you are all alike in your country. You know, we're like vanilla pudding, you know, there's no difference. They obviously have not traveled and experienced the various cultures that we have in the United States. And yet I don't know anywhere that you can go where people will not say, I'm an American. And most of them will say, I'm proud to be an American. You will not find that in some other countries because they are so split. We have the different cultures, we have the different races, we have the different religions, we have the different ethnicities we have the different sexual orientation in this country, and yet everyone thinks of themselves as an American. And we came here. My father was an immigrant. He came when he was around 17. My mother's parents came as immigrants. And they came here because they saw hope. They came here because there was promise. And it was, as it said in the Declaration of Independence, you know, we are all created equal. Yes, it did take 60 years to free the slaves. Yes, it did take 120 years for the women to get the right to vote. Yes, we do have our problems. You see it on the news every day because the news believes they have to tell you what's wrong in order to sell newspapers and get you to tune in to their stations. The truth is, we are an amazing people. And we are amazing because we were created as a nation based on a belief in a higher power. When you read the Declaration of Independence, what you find is, you know, they call on Providence, right? They call on God. Our money says, "In God we trust." And I know there are people who want to take that off. Yet how powerful is that? My money in my wallet, and when I count my money, always is with that side up. In God we trust, in God we trust, in God we trust. What an amazing reminder and affirmation. And that's exactly what our declaration is when these men, our founders, and of course the women that were also prevalent in the movement. We don't talk about them much, but there were women around that were influencing. And we think of the Revolutionary War as being a united front. However, about 40% of the country were patriots, identified themselves as patriots. 20% identified themselves as loyalists to King George. The rest were uncommitted. So it was the 40%. It was not the majority. And it was a scrappy bunch of men who decided to speak for the whole country and declare our independence. And they did it with such a strong affirmations, did they not? I mean, this is our country's foundational affirmation. And we teach about affirmations in Unity all the time. We base it on, you know, affirm what you already are. And when asked, why do we have to write a declaration? Thomas Jefferson answered, we have to write this so that we can declare to the world why we are doing this. We have to declare the justification for it and show them that this is the right thing for us to do. Because if we do not have this declaration, and that's one of the reasons they did list their grievances against the king, say, see, there's a reason for us to do this. But notice it was 40% of the people that were for this. Have you ever wondered whether you should go forward with something and you're doing the part of me this and part of me that? As if you're split up, you know, what is it? What part? What part? You know, we are a whole. And yet we have these different thoughts that go through our mind. 40% is huge. And actually, you know, Jesus says all you need is the faith of a mustard seed. And from that, something great will happen. Something great will grow. But it is to feed upon it and feed it and feed it. And it took years. Somewhere in these papers, I think it's 1783, the war ended. So it seems like, oh, 1776, we were free. No, it took a long time. It meant bringing in allies. It meant unifying this country. And that's what we do with our thoughts, isn't it? We have an idea. We have this spark of greatness. Something that yes, I know this is something I should do. And we go through we've got the 20% loyalists. We got the 40%, yeah, I think it's a good idea. And then there's the rest of it that is undecided. Yeah. And yet, just to have that seed, that mustard seed, that spark, and to go forward based on a strong affirmation. That's why we always tell you, write it down. Write it down. And as I said to that young woman sitting next to me at the bed and breakfast, it is not only your right, it is your responsibility when you have that spark of something great that is coming up, that is welling up in your heart, to move forward with it. And not to say, oh, I see absolutely no reason or purpose. There are those that, the political slogans, let's make this country great again. I believe this country is great. I believe we have always been great. Could we raise ourselves higher? Yeah, always. Tell me what is not great about living in a country where you can complain and stay out of jail, where you can protest when you are filled with hate, and you can go out in the streets and you can proclaim your hatred and stay out of jail. Doesn't happen very many places. Think about it. So why are we not great? Maybe because we're not claiming it and proclaiming it. What do I say? Name it, claim it, proclaim it. Our founding fathers and mothers, they named it, didn't they? They claimed it. Everyone who signed this Declaration of Independence was signing that I'm a traitor to the British Crown. Had they been caught, they would have been executed as traitors. This was supreme treason. And no one had ever done this before. Is there anything in your life that you have been thinking about doing that, well, gee, no one's ever done it before, or I've never been able to do it before, or who am I to think I could do this? Has it ever happened to you? You've stepped back? Because who am I? And yet you live in a country that our founders stepped forward. They leaned into it. They did not know the how. Yeah, they had some glimmers. They didn't know how they were going to pull this off. And there's so many times, and as you study the history of the war, there are so many times we should have lost the cause. We did some dumb things. Thankfully, the British did dumber things at those key moments. Some of them out of arrogance, or not believing that we cared enough, that we would prosper, we would overcome, we would win. This is why I love this holiday. That's why I read to you every year the Declaration of Independence, to remind you, this is why we live here. This is why we love this country. This is why people still come here and are hungry to come here. And with every wave of immigrant, this is the other thing that's fascinating. People are fearful because It's people that aren't quite like you and me, right? Remember when the Irish came, how they were persecuted, the Italians in many ways. My parents went to visit friends after World War II broke out, and the friends slammed the door in their face because my father was from Germany and my mother's people were from Germany because they were afraid. And we are such a beautiful nation. When I came back from China several years ago, I was on one of those wonderful 2-week tours. And you know, they were all Chinese over there. And it was quite an experience because they'd want to have their photo taken, which was very sweet. I'd have all these strange people coming up. They wanted their photo taken with this, big American. And I had to give up any ideas that I had personal boundaries while I was there. And it became fun because they were just having fun too. And when I got off the plane in San Francisco and I looked around, I realized what I had been missing. I had been missing the diversity of this country, which is what I love so much about living here. With all our hiccups, with all of our challenges, with all of the hate groups, with all the violence. The thing is, the consciousness of the whole is greater than the consciousness of those little pockets. You understand that? That's why we're here. That's what our country was founded on. That's why our teachers, the Buddhas, the Jesus, the modern day, the Gandhis, Mother Teresa, Wayne Dyer even, Deepak Chopra, all of them came to raise us. Nelson Mandela, to raise us higher than that animal instinct, that Adam consciousness that Charles Fillmore referred to. So you have the Christ in you. That Declaration of Independence reminds you of that. So as we go forward with this holiday, I love the fireworks, and I do feel for the dogs and the people. I had a roommate. She was with the dogs hiding. She could barely watch it on TV with the sound off, the fireworks. So, however, as we go forward, to take this moment. Remember, think of the fireworks as exploding all of the limitations that we might have. All those feelings of lack. And celebrating that. I love the sounds of it. Not at 2 o'clock in the morning, but from my neighbors, my neighbors love July 4th. They started a couple nights ago. And that's okay, they'll get over it. About July 10th, maybe. But this is our country. We came together. We overcame all of that which separated us. We've made peace where there has been acrimony. And we are one great nation, and it's one great you under God. Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Remember that. Remember that every moment. Remember that when you vote. And that's another thing we'll go later. Because I've heard people say, well, I'm not going to vote because, see, they don't like the candidates that have shown up. And if mine isn't nominated, I'm not going to vote. Shame on you. This is your right and your responsibility. This is what people have shed blood for. This is what people are shedding blood for now. Vote. Vote. Don't ever tell me that you haven't registered. Don't ever tell me you haven't voted. because you know after you. You too. Thank you. And Michelle's meaner than I am. So we hold these two truths to be self-evident, that we are all created equal, that we all have inalienable rights, a life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is mid-year. Remember that as you go forward. Recenter yourselves in the truth of who you are, what you are. You are a glorious creation of God. This is an abundant universe. It is your right and your responsibility to draw from that abundance. Can I hear an amen? A loud amen. Amen. All right. So let's take this into meditation and really anchor. This is who and what you truly are. So breathing deeply. Can you imagine the patriots 240 years ago stepping where no one had before? It was their own moon landing. And breathing deeply, breathe in the light and love that is God. I am the light of the world. Affirm that to yourself. I am the light of the world. And each exhale, breathe out any distress you might be feeling in your emotions, in your thoughts. Breathing in the healing light and love of God and allowing it to fill every cell and tissue of your body, revitalizing your organs, revitalizing all of those cells that are healthy and that attack and destroy the dis-ease within you. That's what our higher consciousness does. And releasing any dis-ease you might be feeling in your body. And continuing with this process, breathing in the light and the love and the healing power and presence of God. Allowing it to, inviting it, calling it to fill your thoughts, your emotions, your soul, and your body. And just say, thank you, God. Thank you for bringing us together. Creating our community. Supporting our light and our love. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. What affirmation will you draw upon on this first day? This is the first moment of the rest of your life. What political bands, what beliefs are you ready to dissolve?
What laws of nature and of nature's God will you now claim? What beliefs are you ready to alter or abolish so that your light shines? So let us take this moment to lay your foundation in God, your foundation in truth, that we are created equal. That we each have the right and responsibility to live lives of liberty, abundance, happiness. You are the light of the world. Place that light on the lampstand and let it shine for the whole world to see. Call forth that 40% that believes, that holds that higher vibration. And let it shine, and let it vibrate at such a high intensity that you draw up all those that you interact with. Let's take that light and love right now, because you are love, you are the love of God. Let your light shine and your love radiate in this world. So we bless each other within these sanctuary walls. We bless our teachers and our children. We send our light and love out to bless this Las Vegas Valley. Shining the new understanding of hope, possibility, and love. And let us bless our nation, raising its vibration also. We are all one under God. And because we are powerful beyond measure, we send our light and love out to bless our world. Where there is feelings of helplessness, hopelessness, anger, despair, hatred, we shine our light. Dispelling the darkness, we radiate our love, touching the hearts of everyone. And thus we transform the world with our own light and love, one thought, one word, one action at a time. And as we were taught to affirm our nation's greatness, we are also taught to affirm our connection with God. When the disciples asked Jesus, how then shall we pray? And he offered them this affirmation.
I was thinking of something. By the way, thank you so much. That was great. That was the first time I've ever, I think, come to church and heard this message, which it should be, on the 4th of July. I love it. Thank you very much for that. I actually lived in a foreign land for most of my life. It's called Nebraska. Yeah. And when I came to Las Vegas, I really did, because my mom was a prisoner of war in the Philippines when she was a child, and her family had moved from America, took them to the Philippines for freedom and happiness, and then they were captured by the Japanese and spent 4 years in prison as prisoners of war. Then they came back, and that freedom of being in the United States, and I really did embrace this unique beauty of our diversity when I started working at the Excalibur, because I saw people from all over the world speaking all different languages, and it really did drive home the fact that this is a beautiful, beautiful, great country. So thank you. And then I went back to Nebraska and went.
Well, and let's give it balance, though. And Facebook really can be edifying. It can be silly and stupid sometimes. I caught an article, and it was from, I think it was a Nebraska town, and it said, you might think we're, redneck and we're closed-minded, etc. Let me tell you about my little town. And it was like maybe 30,000. I've been a town of 20, 30,000. The county itself was 50. And then Cornell and Ithaca College were open, and then another 10,000 came in. And that was that was a wonderful experience too, because we were a very international community as a result, and this is what I grew up with. In the description of, let me tell you about my little town. It talked about having the immigrants from Syria, the immigrants from some of the Middle Eastern countries, about how the community supported each other and how much they loved each other. So we did do this broad stroke and stop it, because we are all unique, and we cannot say that everyone is like A or B, and it's easy to point at a state. It's beautiful.
My first boyfriend was Vietnamese, and he was an immigrant that came over from Vietnam. And it is actually very, just like you said, it's just, there's a similarity in a lot of the way that people look. There's a lot of white European people, but I agree with you, everywhere. My first boyfriend, we played ping pong, and I learned how to count to 10 in Vietnamese, and he learned how to, that's all we did, was we just played ping pong and counted. It was great, though.
I thought you were deeper than that, but that's okay. All right. So, yeah. And I didn't know how to do it during the talk, so. My fireworks. I know, dreadlocks. It's the closest I'm going to come. Now, huh? Jellyfish. I was thinking Medusa. Okay. Now is our opportunity to take our offering and bless it. And those of you in the Prosperity Plus 2 group, we give our offering on Tuesday evening. So just bless the baskets as they go by. But hold your offering, knowing that this is sacred. This is part of the energetic flow that we are all part of, and knowing that God is truly our source. So let us bless it. Divine love flowing through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. And by the way, I want to give a special introduction to Spell. I emailed him saying, you've been here at just about every July 4th since I came. And what I love is we've got, the British here. And I said, please, because, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, Chris is going on his great adventure soon with his wife Octavia. And I said, please come and bless us. And I want you to know, when I asked the question, and I knew the Brit who had become a citizen would know the answer, and I have a feeling Brenda, who also has become a citizen, would know the answer to this when I said, are we a republic, or, or what kind of government do we have? And everybody here said democracy. It's a republic. To the republic for which we stand. And, so Chris is sitting there. I knew that. So thank you for blessing us with, this traditional song. Next July 4th, if you're in town, you can come back too. So thank you. Take it away.
This has always been my favorite American patriotic song. Please help by joining in the chorus. As I was walking that ribbon of highway, I looked up above me, there in the skyway. I saw below me the golden valley. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. from California to the New York Island, from the redwood forests to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. I roamed and rambled, followed my footsteps through the sparkling sands of her diamond deserts, and all around me this voice kept saying, this land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the redwood forests to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As the sun was shining and I was strolling through the wheat fields waving and the dust clouds rolling, I could feel inside me, see all around me. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the redwood forests to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the redwood forests to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me.
God is my source in all things. I live in an abundant universe, and I claim my good now. Thank you, God. And so it is. Okay, now, stay there.
Chris.
Now, I want you to know, I went to the dollar store and I invested $3 in balloons. And then I went to the ATM, drive up, and somehow I opened my back window. So I love you, Chris, but not enough to go back and get the balloons. So Chris is heading out with his wife Octavia. They're going to be hosts up at Bryce National Park. Mid-July till October or something. And I want you to know that instead of writing a sermon, I made a card for you. And I bought a puzzle. And there's a here for you. Get up here. Now Chris is very humble and he doesn't brag about all that he's done for this community. I know how much he's done. I see the behind the scenes and so appreciate everything that you have contributed that these people don't necessarily know about. So this is your card, and it's going to fall apart, so here's the box to put. This is a jigsaw of the United States, because I know you're going to make them all, and there's Bryce, and here, so, okay. So, and if you miss signing it, come up afterward, but I can do jigsaw. But thank you. And this is from our board and from our community. There's a gift in there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.